Well, hello and welcome to the Disability and Jesus Sunday service for Sunday, the 6th of February. This is the fourth Sunday in the church's calendar before Lent begins. So only 4 Sundays left to make sure you've got all the ingredients for Shrove Tuesday and then to prepare in the 40 days of Lent and that run up to Holy Week and Easter. Today is also a special day in the nation's calendar as we mark with Her Majesty the Queen the 70th anniversary of her accession to the throne. I guess it's a day for her of mixed feelings. Today is the day that she became the Queen, but only because her father, the King, had died. And I know that the Queen began the celebrations yesterday, Saturday, with a diary full of small and big celebrations, and keeping today, the actual anniversary, as a quiet day to remember her father. So later in our service, Bill, when he does the intercessions, will include a prayer for Her Majesty the Queen. And I think we hold her in that place and stand with her, knowing what it is to have days which are both joyful and sad. It makes her very much one of us, connects us to her. So wherever you are, however you are, whoever you are, it is good to be here. Apart, yes. Together, certainly. To pray and to ponder.
Our prayers of penitence as we gather together before God. God has called us to follow Christ and has formed us into a royal priesthood, a holy nation, to declare the wonderful deeds of him who has called us out of darkness into his marvelous light. Let us confess the times when we have failed to heed this call. Lord Jesus, you said to your disciples, "You have not chosen me, but I have chosen you." Lord, have mercy. Lord Jesus, we know that the harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. Christ, have mercy. Lord Jesus, you appointed us to go and bear fruit, fruit that will last. Lord, have mercy. May God our Father have mercy upon us, forgive us and free us from all our sins, and keep us in eternal life, through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Lord of hosts, of heaven, our salvation and our strength, without you we are lost. Guard us from all that harms or hurts, and raise us when we fall. Through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Luke chapter 5, beginning at verse 1. Once, while Jesus was standing beside the lake of Gennesaret, and the crowd was pressing in on him to hear the word of God, he saw 2 boats there at the shore of the lake. The fishermen had got out of them and were washing their nets. He got into one of the boats, the one belonging to Simon, and asked him to put out a little way from the shore. Then he sat down and taught the crowds from the boat. When he had finished speaking, he said to Simon, "Put out into the deep waters and let down your nets for a catch." Simon answered, "Master, we have worked all night long but caught nothing. Yet if you say so, I will let down the nets." When they had done this, they caught so many fish that their nets were beginning to break. So they signalled to their partners in the other boats to come and help them. And they came and filled both boats, so that they began to sink. But when Simon Peter saw it, he fell down at Jesus' knees, saying, "Go away from me, Lord, for I am a sinful man." For he and all who were with him were amazed at the catch of fish they had taken. And so also were James and John, sons of Zebedee, who were partners with Simon. Then Jesus said to Simon, "Do not be afraid. From now on you will be catching people." When they brought their boats to shore, they left everything and followed him.
I always love the encounters that Jesus has with the people who are yet to become the 12 disciples. So there's Jesus. He's been teaching for a while. People are, the crowd is growing. People are pressing in on every side to hear him teach. So he does something which is quite clever in terms of physics. He sees the guys who are there cleaning their nets from fishing overnight. You fish overnight, it's the best time to fish because the fish can't see you. They're coming to the shallower water to feed, and then you can scoop them up in the nets dead easy. So, and then it comes to the morning, you land the fish and your catch for the day, sell it at the market, and you clean your nets, and then you go home for a rest. Then you start the process again in the next night. So Jesus is teaching at a time when presumably they've done the fish to the marketplace, they're cleaning their nets, and presumably when they finish cleaning the nets, they're about to go home for a rest. So Jesus is there teaching. He says to one of the boats, can I just borrow your boat just for a minute? And he gets into it and pushes a little way out, and the natural cove there on the edge of the lake makes a great amphitheatre. So if you actually do this, if you go to the Israel Palestine, you can see them do this. You can get into the boat, go out a little way, and you can hear the difference that your voice makes with the natural curve of the coast, of the coastline. So Jesus gets into the boat, pushes a little way out, and carries on teaching, and everyone can hear him more clearly. And then he brings the teaching session to a close, and he turns to Simon Peter and he says, let's go fishing. Now, this is interesting. Jesus was brought up a carpenter or stonemason. Now, in his public ministry, he is a preacher, and it would appear he's moving into the area of fishing. So he's changing what he does. So Jesus, the carpenter turned preacher, turns to an experienced fisherman and said, let's go fishing. Now, Simon Peter, I think you can't tell tone of voice, can you, in written accounts? But I think Simon Peter's probably a bit tetchy at this point. In his head, he's probably going, you're a carpenter, you're a preacher. Oh, now you're a fisherman, are you? And Simon Peter kind of does this slightly terse reply. You know, we've been out fishing all night. We've caught nothing. This is not the time to go fishing because the fish are all very deep down because it's warm up here, too warm for them. And everyone knows you fish at night. Put out into the deep water and let your nets down for a catch, says Jesus. Right, lads, come on. And something about the moment says to Simon Peter, don't argue. Just trust this is going to go okay. It's funny, isn't it? Because sometimes we can feel very detached from Jesus. Jesus is in this category, Messiah, and we are in this category, human. And I guess it's a bit like for Simon Peter in the boat at that moment going, okay, so Jesus, mate, you know, I've heard about you. You're a carpenter turned preacher. There you are. I'm a fisherman. Here I am. You do you. I'll do me. Thank you very much. You borrowed my boat. That's lovely. But for preaching, not for fishing. Fishing is me. Preaching and teaching is you. And there's something here about Simon Peter being at the end of his resilience and resources, to be fishing all night, caught nothing. There's something here as well about Jesus being in the workplace. And that's interesting, isn't it? Do we categorize Jesus too freely and too quickly and to keep him in a box safely? So there's the category of Jesus is Jesus and we are us, and the two don't really mix. And something about Jesus does his thing and we do our thing, and the two don't mesh. Jesus is a carpenter, Simon is a fisherman. You do you, I'll do me. But also, what are you doing in my workplace? Jesus in our workplaces. What would that look like? Jesus in our politics. What would that look like? Jesus in our commerce and our finance and our economy. What would that look like? Jesus in our healthcare system. What would that look like? Jesus in our welfare system. What would that like? Whatever the boat is, whether it's politics, finance, commerce, health, social welfare, whatever, communities, churches, crikey, relationships, families, individuals, whatever that boat is, Jesus gets in and says, can I join you? And that is a huge challenge, because it's much safer and riskier, both ways, to say, Jesus, you're Sunday, but you're not Monday to Friday. You're not in the office. You know, you're being a Messiah somewhere. The office is the office, and you're you. And Jesus steps into our workplace and says, can I join you? Steps into the boardroom and says, can I join you? Steps into the shift workers gathering before the shift starts and says, can I join you? Steps into the place where social care workers meet around a table saying, okay, today's caseload looks like this. And Jesus says, can I join you? And like Simon Peter, we've got a choice to either say, get out my boat, you've used it for preaching, but you know, we're here to clean nets and go home for a rest. Or to say, okay, I mean, it's not going to work, but okay. So Simon Peter says grudgingly, yes, I mean, you do know that you know nothing about how my workplace operates, but come on, have a look, come and join us, and we'll just show you that you know nothing about how this works. And they obediently, grudgingly, go to the deep water and let the nets down. So here's challenge number 2. This is not how you fish. This is not how the world works. When Jesus says, just do this thing, and we respond, that's not how it works, and Jesus says, just watch. Do we have the courage, bravery, commitment, trust? It may be grudging, but it'll do, to say, all right. So are we going to let Jesus come out of the box we've put him in? Are we going to allow him into our spaces, all the spaces? And are we going to say, okay, when he says, just try this? And we might argue back, it's not going to work. But to then go, well, seeing as it's you asking, I'll give it a go. So Simon Peter says, come into my boat, use it for preaching, and then come into my boat. We're going to go fishing, apparently, even though it's not going to work. Everyone knows that's not when you fish. And then he grudgingly, willingly throws down the nets, and he goes, it's not. Oh my goodness, it's working. Lads, we're going to need a considerably bigger net. They're pulling in all these fish. I don't know how it was done. Could it simply be a fluke? Could it be that Jesus says to the fish, okay, lads, sacrifice time? Could it be that Jesus, who is the word made flesh, the word that speaks creation back in Genesis, has a word with creation and says, I need this to happen for me? I don't know. But Jesus was right, and they would catch the fish at the most implausible time of the day, and they were already tired, and they just finished cleaning the nets. Jesus comes out of the box into the workplace, invites the impossible, and watches it happen. There's so many fish, they literally do need considerably bigger nets. They call across their workmates and their colleagues, said, never mind what you're doing on the shore, we're going to need you here. Out comes boat number 2, they help as well. There's so much fish that the 2 boats practically sink, but they don't, they get back to shore. Everybody else, I don't know what they're doing, whooping, hollering, wow, this is amazing, climbing over the fish, trying to get them into packing crates and wash them up, I don't know. Simon Peter just goes, wait, just wait a minute. You came out of the box. You came into my workplace. You came to me when I was at the end of my resources. You challenged me on this. You did more than I could imagine in an impossible situation. You are too much for me, and I am too small to be here. In fact, if we're talking about opposites, you are so remarkable, and I am so minuscule. I can only find religious words for this. I am so unclean to be in your presence. I mean, yeah. And Jesus says, you are afraid. Stop being afraid. The Greek is quite clear here, but the English is quite ambiguous. The English is don't be afraid. Almost like Jesus saying, no need for fear. The Greek is clearer. You are afraid, but now you can stop. From now on, Jesus says, I'm going to turn this around. You see, we had my ministry over there and your workplace over here. But now we're going to switch them around a bit, because I brought my ministry into your workplace and showed you how much more there can be. Now your workplace comes into my ministry and the two mesh, and together we start catching people. We go out into the deep places of this land. We go out into the deepest parts of people's hearts and lives, and we begin to catch them for God. They bring the boats to shore. Jesus gives them a space to ponder, and they ponder. And the ones named Simon, Peter, James, and John. And those three say yes. And they begin to follow Jesus. Jesus is allowed out of the box. He is allowed to be carpenter, preacher, fisherman. He is allowed to bring his ministry into that workplace and to bring that workplace back into his ministry. And he invites that collaboration of the two. Never mind the deep waters where we catch fish in an implausible, impossible situation. How about the deep parts of people's lives? And we catch them for God. How would that be? Bringing together ministry and workplace into that beautiful place where the two work together brilliantly. So, friends, here's the questions for us. Have we individually, and the answer for this is yes for me, put Jesus in a box? A historical box, wasn't he fascinating back then? A theological box, wow, he's the Messiah, it's amazing, good for him. A separate box of divine versus human, or a confused box of fully human, tiny bit divine. Have we boxed Jesus in somewhere? And do we need to allow him to get out of the box? He's probably not in the box in the first place, but we think we boxed him in. Second question, are we willing to let him get into our boat? It's an analogy, it's a poor one, but go with it. Whatever you have as your boat, your version of Simon Peter's workplace or place of interest, or if you're someone for whom work and play currently is not possible because of health, wherever you've cocooned yourself and find your identity, what is your boat? And is Jesus allowed in there, or do you keep him on the shore and say, no, this is my space. You do your thing there, and I might join in now again, but this bit's just me. What is your boat? And is Jesus allowed in? When he's in there, is he allowed to say to you, how about we do this? And like Simon Peter, are you going to first of all resist and go, wait, my space, my rules? Or have the reluctant courage to say, all right, well, give it a go. I'm not sure it's going to work, but we'll give it a go. And when Jesus invites us to go to the end of our resources and look into the deep places which seem unreachable and pointless, are we in a position to be surprised when stuff happens? It's easier to avoid the deep places. But with Jesus in the boat with us, maybe, just maybe, stuff happens that's good. And then when Jesus does that final invitation, how about, now that I'm out of the box, now that you've allowed me into your cocoon, your workplace, your place of hobby and rest, or your place of identity, now I'm allowed in, and together we've seen that you are so much more than just that cocoon of workplace, space, hobby, identity. How about we bring that back out into the ministry space so the two become one? What if ministry with Jesus was more than just Sundays? Wow. So I wonder where you're at in all of those moments in the encounter Jesus has on the Sea of Galilee with those three key fishermen, Peter, James, and John, and their friends. Maybe you're in the crowd watching and going, oh, I didn't see that coming. Wasn't that fascinating? Right, time to go home, kids. I don't know. But whatever you have responded to, both in the retelling of the story and in our reflection on the individual moments, take that, whatever that is, and spend some time with God, pondering it together. Maybe even pause this and go and do that, and then come back and press play again and pick up where you left off with Bill and the intercessions. Maybe all of this has just been fascinating and you want to move straight into prayer and carry that through. It's up to you. That's the beauty of online. We can pause, we can ponder, we can come back and pick up where we left off. But ponder those things. Is Jesus in a box? Is he allowed to get into your space that previously has just been you, your identity, your workplace, your hobbies, your interests, whatever it is? Are you willing to let him say, let's try this thing that you think will not work, but it might? And will you allow his ministry and your identity to come together and go out and be a blessing to other people? Amen.
Our prayers of intercession this week focus on the ministry of the church. We pray for the flourishing of God's gift to his church, saying, Jesus, Lord of the church, in your mercy, hear us. God our Father, you give us gifts that we may work together in the service of your Son. Bless the leaders of your church, that they may be firm in faith and humble before you. Jesus, Lord of your church, in your mercy, hear us. Bless those who teach, that they may increase our understanding and be open to your word for them. Jesus, Lord of your church, in your mercy, hear us. Bless those who minister healing, that they may bring wholeness to others, yet know your healing in themselves. Jesus, Lord of your church, in your mercy, hear us. Bless those through whom you speak, that they may proclaim your word in power, yet open their ears to your gentle whisper. Jesus, Lord of your church, in your mercy, hear us. Bless those who work in your world today, that in the complexity of their daily lives they may live for you, fulfill your purposes, and seek your kingdom first. Jesus, Lord of your church, in your mercy, hear us. Bless those who are uncertain of their gifts, and those who are powerless in this world's eyes, that they may be made strong in your gift of the Holy Spirit. Jesus, Lord of your church, hear our prayer, and make us one in heart and mind to serve you with joy forever. Amen. And on this accession day, the 70th anniversary of the Queen's accession to the throne, a prayer for Her Majesty. Almighty God, who rules over all the kingdoms of the world, we give you thanks for your servant, our sovereign lady, Queen Elizabeth, whom you set upon the throne of this realm 70 years ago this day. May your wisdom be her guide, and let your love strengthen her. Let truth and justice, holiness and righteousness, peace and charity abound in all her days. Direct all her counsels and endeavours to your glory and to the welfare of her subjects, and let her always possess the hearts of her people. Let her reign be long and blessed, and crown her with everlasting life in the world to come. Through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
The Lord's Prayer. Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done, on earth as in heaven. Give us today our daily bread, Forgive us our sins, as we forgive those who sin against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For the kingdom, the power, the glory are yours now and forever. Amen.
And a blessing. May the peace of God that passes all understanding fill your hearts and minds with the knowledge and love of God and of his Son, Jesus Christ, our Lord. And the blessing of God Almighty, who is Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, be with you and remain with you this day and forever. Amen.